All right, Mary Lundquist. Mary, first of all, why did you select our school?
There were many things that went into this decision. I started out with 3 main schools, and it's kind of eliminated them over time, but Asbury is just kind of the balance between the schools that I was considering. I was thinking about a very small Bible college far away from here and a larger Christian university closer to home. And Asbury is kind of in between, where it's not too big, and it's not too far from home, but it's enough that I can get away. And also, Asbury has a Christian affiliation, but it's not just the name. It's actually it's reflected in their campus life and in the students there.
Okay, that's where I would stop, because otherwise you're going to be rambling.
Okay.
Now I want to do something else. I'm going to stop the tape and ask you the question. It's okay to start out answering to them, but remember there are 2 other people on the panel.
Okay.
So I'm going to set up, which brings me to my next question. Tell us about your relationship to God.
Well, this is something that has grown a lot over the years. I became a Christian when I was 7 years old, but it was just kind of a thing that I did. I had grown up in the church, and it was just a natural step to take. But over time, I've become closer to God, and that I want to spend time with Him, and I want to talk to Him, and I want to tell other people about Him. And so that has deepened our relationship, and it's helped me as a person as I help other people out, and I try to share His love with other people.
Now, when you're answering, when you leave that interview, I want you to be able to tell me the color of each person's eyes.
Okay.
So I really want you to, you start out looking at me, and you really, I'm the one that asked the question, so you're really focusing on me, but then you come over to Snoopy and you give him some quality time too.
Not just glancing over.
Right.
Okay.
Don't be eye darting. And then you come over to the gorilla, and you give the gorilla some quality time.
Okay. I keep looking at the camera instead of at you.
Yeah, the camera's not really here
it's
for
not
this.
Here. It doesn't exist.
Right. Because I noticed you were looking down and not. Look at Snoopy's forehead, look at the gorilla's forehead.
The eyebrows.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. Because that could be perceived as being not sure of oneself. And especially on a question like I just asked you, you really need to be right on that one, and you need to really be focused in on the people who ask you the question and also the other people in the committee. How are you at time commitments? Because here at Asbury, we expect our students not only to be good students in the classroom, but we also want them to be a part of our outreach program to the community and help with different social service kinds of things that we do here at the college to try to bring God to beyond the boundaries of our school. So how are you at balancing your time? Would this be a problem for you, being able to volunteer your time as well as make your commitments to your classes?
Well, I think that I live a balanced life, and time commitments is something that I struggle with because I have a hard time saying no to things, and I end up becoming overcommitted. But I've tried to work in high school at working on that and trying to spend times with things that are most important first. And I know that in college it's going to be even harder. And so I've decided now, while I'm in high school, to really hone those skills. And then when I take the next step and when it does become more stressful, that I will be able to handle that and will be able to budget that time.
What have you been involved in, school or community-wise, that you feel very pleased about? Something that you've done that really you just felt good in your heart about?
I'm very involved with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I've done a lot of things through them. Last year, as a junior, I was the top volunteer for high school and volunteered 79 hours last year. And it's not so much a number thing, but I do take pride in that I go beyond myself and that I'm concerned with other people. And I've been involved with the different activities and with Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I'm on the board now, so it's kind of cool to be behind the scenes and making decisions about what's going to affect these kids. But that's something that not only has benefited me because I'm looking forward to working with kids in the future, but it's also in that I've helped these kids and hopefully made an impact in their lives.
That answer was about right, and so was the one on God. Those were good times. Okay, there's another one on time. Have you read anything or had an experience in the last year which in any way opened you up to things you were not aware of before?
In my advanced speech class, that's not what I meant to say. In my AP English class this year, we were forced to read Madame Bovary, which I did not look forward to at the beginning. But as Mrs. Carmody was talking about it, she mentioned how we place unrealistic expectations on life and on our future. And I think with me, I've seen all these love movies and romantic movies, and I want that in my life, and I want a happy ending, and I want everything to end up right. And she said that that's unrealistic. I mean, there are happy endings, but it's not always going to happen the way that it did in those movies that the directors planned that way. And so that's something that I learned. It kind of hit me in the face that, you know, I'm not going to settle for anything less. I'm going to keep my standards, but I can't think too highly. I can't have too high of standards that I'll be disappointed with the results.
Let's go back to your high school. Where do you live, and what is it like in your community?
My town is called Newcastle, and it's about 20,000 or so people. A lot of people my age complain that it's too small, that there's nothing to do there, that there's nowhere to go. But even though I can see that side of it, because there aren't a lot of entertainment options, but I appreciate the sacrifices that my community has made for me, and I think it has shaped me as a person. My community is very involved with education, and a couple years ago we renovated our high school, and it's a brand new facility that it's wonderful for me to be able to learn in. And so I appreciate those kind of sacrifices that they've made and other things that they've done for me that other people my age may tend to overlook just because we don't have a mall or whatever. But I am glad that I was raised in Newcastle, and I'm thankful for that.
That brings up the issue of friends and peer pressure. What attracts you to a person? How would you describe one of your friends? You don't have to give us a name or anything, but what generally are the people like that you hang out with, that you do things with? How would you describe them?
Most of my friends have common interests with me. We share things in common, and that's what our activities are centered around those. But also I love people with a sense of humor because I love to laugh and I love to have fun, and I think it's important for friends to have fun, and I also think it's important to be able to listen to each other, and that's something that I'm working on. There are a lot of things that I want to talk about, but I also need to remember to listen to the other person, and I think that's another important quality in friendship. But most of my friends are like that, and I am blessed with the friends that I have, and because they cover a lot of those qualities.
Why don't you tell us about, you mentioned the fact that you had AP English. Why don't you tell us about any other AP classes that you've had that you felt challenged you or have benefited you and will help you out as you head into your next life, your next career?
Actually, our school has 5 AP classes, and I've only taken 1. And a lot of people say that I'm a slacker, I only took 1 AP class, but the reality is that I am not really interested in the sciences of the other AP classes, and the calculus, that's not really my specialty, but English is something definitely that is practical that will help me. It's very important to know how to write and to know how to express yourself and to be able to read and talk and discuss with people, and I think that class has really helped me and really challenged me. It's something that I'm good at, but it's something also that I've had to hone those skills, and I think it's prepared me better as a person for the future.
What's going to make you a good elementary teacher?
First of all, I love kids, and I think that's very important. It sounds silly. I mean, it seems obvious that you would love kids, but a lot of teachers, it seems, don't, and that's the first bad thing.
Sure.
But besides that, and I want to see kids succeed, and I take pride in what I do with kids, and I am compassionate about them and want them to do well, and I think that's important. I also think that with my background and how I've surrounded myself doing different things with kids that age, that I've had experience with that, and that I know what would make a good elementary teacher, since I had good ones, and I want to do that same thing.
What does make a good elementary teacher?
Stacy Shelton, you have a telephone call.
I mentioned earlier that I like fun. I like fun things, and I think it's very important to make learning fun. When I was in 5th and 6th grade, we took all these field trips, all these educational field trips, and I learned so many things that were beyond books and beyond teacher lecture and teacher notes, and even though there aren't as many lectures in elementary school, but I think it's very important to instill the joy in learning at a young age, so that those kids, when they get older, that they will still enjoy learning and still want to learn.
What would be your, having observed a lot, I see here you've done peer tutoring and worked with a lot of elementary students, what would be, I don't know if you formulated your educational philosophy, and over the course of time while you are here at Asbury, we would hope that we would have some input into that as well, but what, at this point in your life, what is your educational philosophy? How do you approach learning, teaching others to learn, helping others to learn who maybe are challenged by either their, because of their health or because of their learning abilities, or they may have a subject that they just don't understand?
I think it's important for them to find outside help. I think you should pay attention to that child, but not in front of everyone, so that they would feel singled out, or so that they would feel stupid or dumb for being behind. But I have helped I'm helping a girl right now with her reading that maybe the teacher couldn't help her out in class because it would single her out again, but kind of getting outside help, finding a tutor of somehow, and I know that even though I may not be the best tutor in the world with the most experience, but I think that it's helpful to find someone that is cool, not saying that I'm cool, but I am in high school. I'm not one of those adults or something, and I think that it's important to find someone that the child could identify with and the child would enjoy being with. So it's not just a drudgery to have to go learn spelling, but I think it's important that they do get extra help so they don't get even more behind. But I don't believe in singling them out, and because that just makes them feel even worse.
Defend your possible career choice, being an elementary teacher, to a person of opposite interests. Let's say your parents look upon you and they want you to be a doctor or a lawyer.
Well,
defend to me, I'm your dad now, defend to me that why you want to be an elementary teacher.
I think it's very important to start early with kids, and it's easier to make an impact in a kid's life when they're younger and when they're still open to ideas. The older they get, the more closed-minded they get. And so I think it's important to begin with the kids at a young age and influence their lives, so that in the future, when they grow up, there's so many possibilities if you start out with good students in elementary school. And I think that even though I may not be saving lives with health-wise or saving lives from being in jail, but I think a lot of it starts in elementary school, and a lot of their ideals are formulated in elementary school. And if they don't have those ideas, if they don't have good teachers in elementary school, then they won't succeed in the future, and then we'll need even more lawyers to defend people like that. But I think it all starts in elementary school when they're still open to those kind of ideas.
How would you create a college for yourself? Not a physical sense, but an atmosphere.
Well, I think that Asbury is it is my ideal college, but I think it's because the people are genuine. They're not fake. They're not just there because their parents made them. They have a good attitude about learning, and they want to learn. And I think that's important. And I think it's important that they get out and reach out, like at Asbury, so it's not just inside of a bubble. I think it's important that they reach out into the community and get real world experience that way.
Finally, what aspects of you and your life will probably not appear on this recommendation, that's not in any of your paperwork, that you would like to share with us, to leave us with, about you as a person, and why we should select you for this scholarship? There's about 3 questions in one. Let's take them one at a time. What aspects of you and your life do not appear in any of this paperwork that you would like to tell us about yourself?
I think that most people describe me as being happy and cheerful, and even though you haven't asked a question about that, maybe you've noticed it by the way I responded.
Yes.
But I think it's very important, the attitude, to have a good attitude into things, and I think that's one of my strongest qualities that I take pride in, and that's one of the aspects about me that you may not ask about.
Okay. And then the second part of that was, let's see, why should we select you for this scholarship?
I understand that there are a lot of people here that seem worthy of the scholarship, and not to demote anyone else, but I think that with my balanced life and how I've surrounded myself with things that will help me in the future, and with the fact that I do need money, God will provide however it is, but I think that this may be one of the means He could do it with. But I do believe that I'm supposed to be at Asbury, but I need money to get there, but I think that I'm qualified and that I would go above and beyond, and not only would I benefit from an Asbury experience, but I think that I would be beneficial to the Asbury community as well.
Very good. Well, we will get back to you within the next 2 weeks. You have a list of questions for them?
I've had most of my questions answered. I don't know what I would...
Okay, is there any question you thought we would ask but we didn't ask? That's a question they sometimes ask in the interview.
I don't know
what I would do there is say, I thought you might ask about how I was able to balance everything that I did in high school, because I realized that college is a different situation and set of circumstances, but I feel like I can adapt. I'm a lot like a chameleon, and I can adapt to my new surroundings because I've been to a public school. I know what that's like. Asbury's a private school, right? And I'm going to be meeting a whole new set of people, and going to have to, if I'm going to survive, if I'm going to be successful, I know God will be with me, but I also know that I'm going to have to do a certain amount of this myself. And I'm ready for that challenge.
Good answer.
Well, it's on tape now, too.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, I know, because I got on you when you were a sophomore about that.
Amber Clark, please report to Cheryl's office. Thank you.
Will you be sitting at a table, or will you be...
I think I would just be in a regular chair.
Okay. We'll move Snoopy over here. If you're sitting in a chair, it's not so much as an interview for a major scholarship, and that's going to be hard to do. But try to look on as a conversation with 3 new friends. And you're meeting them, and they're here to find out about who you are. Because all that they've had so far is this paper to look at, the paperwork. Now they want to put face with this to see if it's the kind of quality person that they want for this scholarship.
Okay. How do I respond at first when if you're talking? How do I kind of...
When I'm asking a question,
do I do anything or just sit there?
No, you just sit there and have a pleasant smile on your face. Yeah, no, not.
I usually keep my mouth closed. I'm a mouth reader.
Just relax. I know that's hard when there's a lot on the line, but that's what you need to do. You just need to think of these people as friends. They're probably going to be professors of yours at some point. Maybe not. I don't know how they do this, but they're going to be people from that community, or they have a vested interest in the scholarship, or they're somehow connected with the school. So they're going to be people that are going to be ultimately your associates, friends, colleagues, professors.
Make a good first impression.
Right. And you have a great smile. Don't be afraid to use it. In between questions, you should be smiling. Takes 16 facial muscles to smile, 38 to frown.
What if I sometimes I hesitate. Should I totally refrain from that?
It'd be better to pause. If you do throw in an or two, just shows that you're human.
Okay.
Because nobody can get through an interview or a speech, I don't think. They have to be awfully good. Senator Lugar was able to do it. I've seen him speak a couple of times, and there were no uhs in his speeches.
When it's prepared, it's easier because you can just go.
No, this was impromptu.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Of course, he's a Rhodes Scholar, too. But be that as it may, just because he's a Rhodes Scholar doesn't mean he'd be a good speaker,
right.
He is, and you are. I guess 2 words I want to leave you with is be yourself. Because if you're not yourself, they're going to pick up on that. Because my wife, in talking about the interviews that they did for the Lilly Scholarship, one of the things that came out, and one of the reasons that April is in the position she's in, is because she was very natural, she was very sincere, she was herself. And some of the other people just pushed a little too hard. And that came across.
Okay.
Anything else? And if there is anything else, after you leave here today and after you've had a chance to look at this and think about some things, feel free to come back and we can talk again.
Okay. And I thank them afterwards, right? Or
I would like to thank you for, if there's anything else you'd like to say, and say it, and then I certainly want to thank you for this opportunity. This has been a great experience, and I really appreciate it.
Okay.
Yep.
And the firm handshake?
Yes, of course.
Mrs. Robbins told me to hold on to a hot pack so my hands won't be so cold.
Right.
Like rusted.
Right.
Because my hands do get cold.
Mm-hmm.
But, okay.
Okay, here's your tape.